Making up a hefty 16.08% of the whole Pokédex, the water type is definitely the most common of all the 18 types of Pokemon. IGN was right, there really is too much water.
I am under the water. Please help me.
Hello everyone, my name is Super123 and today I am going to be trying a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Crystal with only water type Pokemon. As stated, the water type is absolutely stacked with not only many different Pokemon, but many different type combinations as well, like water and flying, water and ground, and water and, well, just water. The overall list of Pokemon that I can use in this challenge is pretty extensive, so I'm just showing it on screen right now. Some Pokemon we can't obtain are the likes of the Squirtle line, the Kanto fossils, and obviously the legendary Pokemon Suicune. I've also locked myself out of trade evolutions such as Politoed and Kingdra because I have no friends. Of course, hardcore Nuzlocke rules are going to be on screen. The hardcore aspect is that there are level caps and no items in battle and set mode and all that, and just the standard Nuzlocke rules. And if you do go on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment, it really helps the channel out, and also subscribe if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's get into the challenge. So obviously I'm going to start with Totodile because it is the water type starter. After beating the rival fairly quickly and calling him Maxi after the Team Magma boss, I say goodbye to Mother as she's cooking up some delicious volcano bake meat. I went to get my first capture of this quest, that being a Poliwag on Route 30 at night. I apologise in advance, but I had to call it Poliswag because it is the best name ever for a Poliwag. Skipping Sprout Tower because of the glaring weakness to grass, and because the level cap is extremely low in this game, as shown by the first trainer having a Spearow at the level cap already, which could definitely overlevel you if you get too much EXP on it, or just flat out destroy you. Falkner is not as difficult as that man, but he can be annoying with Mud Slap, which he didn't end up using in the end. This was a lot better as it means we can just build up damage with Rage and not have to worry about the lowered accuracy. It only took us a few uses of our boosted anger and a berry until I got the first gym badge. This section is where the real fun begins, and starting on Route 32 I can catch a Wooper at night, a fantastic Pokemon with an overpowered typing. I then collect the old rod from the Pokemon Center on that very route and backtrack, picking up the Poison Barb on the way from one of those weekend kids. I can now catch a Magikarp in Violet City, which is huge because I can now utilize Dupes Claws, meaning I have a much easier time catching a Krabby in Cherry Grove, and a Tentacle in New Bark. I also could have caught a Goldeen in the Union Cave, but there's something much better there in the future, specifically on a Friday. I also caught a Psyduck in the Ilex Forest at night, and a Slowpoke in the aptly named Slowpoke Well. This led to me training the team in the basement of the Union Cave and on Team Rocket Goons blocking my way into the gym. While training I did actually forget the level cap and overlevel some of my team, but I just didn't use them in the oncoming battles and versus Bugsy. Starting off the battle was not too bad. I had Tentacruel come in and poison the Metapod before being swapped into Krabby since it has a really high attack stat. I used the weakness of Metapod to my advantage by setting up 3 Hardens to raise our defense. Kakuna is next and it can't be poisoned sadly, so we just have to hope it can't poison us back. It didn't get a chance to attack anyway since we got a critical hit. And now for the Cypher. I'm pretty worried about it since Fury Cutter does damage and really does stack up much like Rage, but a slice of luck however as it misses an initial attack, giving us a chance to land a cheeky Leer. This gives us the necessary power to beat past the Cypher and win us the badge. Any more Fury Cutter damage and that could have been game over right there. The rival battle coming up is pretty scary since our main counter in Tentacle is still not very good, but at least we evolved Totodile into Croconaw. Ghastly is a pretty simple KO and he sends in that Bayleaf that I'm dreading. I keep in Croconaw and land a Leer because I'm crazy, and critical hit a Scratch for just over half. Bayleaf did poison us so I swapped into Tentacle, who manages to beat it because its attacking pattern is so erratic. Zubat is his last Pokemon and it's not much trouble either to be honest. It was a lot easier than first thought, but let's move on to Goldenrod. I obviously get the TM for Headbutt on the way, and then went to the department store to ask the age-old question, how does Wooper learn Ice Punch? But we didn't have to wonder for that for too long as I do evolve it and it grows arms and a big goofy smile and I love it so much. After a bit more training I was ready to take on the gym, and I was going back to basics by gaining power on Rage and aiming to sweep. Clefairy's metronome wasn't helping us very much, but it did mimic Rage itself, and we started getting very angry. Grr. We knock it out and time to channel that Rage into the rollout monster that has plagued many of you when you were younger. It didn't start too well with Miltank flinching us with a very strong stomp, and then starting its potential rollout sweep. But 2 rages, one being a critical hit, took it into the red, but we were also pretty weak, so I had to swap into Quagsire, who resists rollout, giving us a great chance to land a water gun and win the badge. We're still going strong with this team. How long can we keep it up? So on my script there is just a wall of text for the next 2 sections, so let's just get into it. A bit of travelling and we can visit Bill to get an EV. We can't use it just yet, but we will be very soon. We also got some more captures in this section, getting a Marill from Mount Mortar at night, and catching a Goldeen on Route 42, and then battling this really important trainer with a Quillfish. Trust me, this man is the catalyst for evolution of a majority of our team. He has the chance to give us water stones if he calls us, but calls are really random in this game, so how will we get them reliably? Well, we can do a cheeky bit of manipulation with this, travelling all the way back to Nuzlocke to see your mother and save the game. Then you can just change the daylight savings time and there's a chance you'll get a phone call from anyone in your poker gear. Of course this is the only guy I have in my phone book, so it will be him guaranteed. But the reason we save here is because he can offer a trainer battle, and I'm not walking all the way back to battle him, just to go all the way back again to battle him again. We don't want this, we just want free stuff. The problem with this, however, right now, is we have to walk all the way back to him. So it's a bit easier to do this after the Ekatik gym when we can have surf, rather than trekking through Mount Mortar. All of that explanation aside, I trained up more and got to the Olivine, where I got the old rod and fished up a Staryu. I also got the HMs for strength in Olivine, and the surf HM after beating the Kimono girls, which is probably the best HM I can get in the game for this run, evolving Poliwag into Poliwhirl in the process. I also did the Burnt Tower rival battle, but there was not much to say there honestly. So let's just jump into the gym battle, and a great start since I lead off with Poliwhirl by mistake, so I had to waste a turn swapping into Quagsire. At least I had a chance to set up Rain Dance, and Ghastly using Curse on my Poliwhirl meant that I wasn't going to use it on my Quagsire, which is great because I need that for the Gengar. Next was Haunter, who was blown away by 2 Mud Slaps, and now for that aforementioned Gengar. It missed Hypnosis twice as we took it down with a few Mud Slaps, which was a lot easier than I expected, to be honest. It did really good damage considering it's a 20 base power move, and his final Haunter fell to 2 Mud Slaps as Quagsire hits level 26. That was another gym battle that was hard on paper, but extremely easy to deal with. So the reason I didn't evolve my Magikarp earlier, because I could catch a Gyarados way easier at the level cap, and oh my god, it's shiny, no way! I caught a shiny in my Pokemon Crystal run, oh my god! Shiny Gyarados. Wow. After getting the totally not scripted shiny Pokemon that was really random and very unexpected, I had to make my way back to Nuzlocke Town just so I could get a few more water stones. On the way, I gave the red shard to Mr. Pokemon to get the XP share, and also got the Mystic Water from this man on Cherry Grove who is on a random island for some reason. I got a few water stones which I'll be using a bit later once Eevee learns Bite, which I'm training with the EXP share, so I'm technically not using it in battle before you get your undies in a twist. I also trained up in the Team Rocket hideout just to get them out of the way, where I'll gain somewhat decent experience for this stage, but they're all at level 17, so it's a bit better than doing it at like mid-level 30s. After that hellish place, I made my way to Cyanwood to face off against Chuck, catching a Mantine on the way, and I was very surprised I found a Mantine before a Tentacruel, which is a bit weird but I'll take it. And then evolved Croconaut into the Juggernaut that is for Alligator, and with Eevee hitting level 30 and learning Bite, it's finally time to feed it some blue rocks, evolving it into Vaporeon at last. Now Chuck is no pushover. Yes, he only has 2 Pokemon, but the latter on his team caused me a lot of issues. The Primeape wasn't too bad in reality, but the dynamic punches of Poliwrath hit like a truck and always confuse you upon landing. I had to give it a taste of its own medicine with Tentacle hitting Supersonic, after it almost beat most of my team. But we managed to stall it out of 5 of its dynamic punches and headbutt into the sea, where it won't survive since the Poliwag line is freshwater and seawater is obviously saltwater. A bit of science as we get the gym badge. So now it's time for the Johto boss rush, where we could fight Jasmine, but we have to fight the 7th gym first, which is really strange. Price has a lower level cap in his gym, so I am obviously obliged to go here first. I also battled Yucine, the man that has looked up way too many pictures of Suicune with safe search off, and had the easiest gym battle I've had in a while. Most ice types have water type moves, so our team resists both types that he throws at us. And Pilus 1 is part ground type, so it's weak to water, and Price's team just gets melted really easily. Okay, now we can actually fight Jasmine's gym, and since her Steelix is really strong defensively, I would like to get Quagsire to the level cap, because at that specific level, it will learn Earthquake, a very considerable upgrade on slapping someone with a piece of mud. It's so convenient how the Crystal developers made Quagsire learn this move at this level so we could face off against the gym with arbitrary level caps. It's almost as if they knew that many years later I would be Nuzlocking this game like this. I also evolved Tentacruel into Tentacruel, but you won't see it in this battle. In fact, you won't see much in this battle due to Earthquake. Magnemites are going to be one-shot regardless, and her Steelix was two-shot, but that's only because it was healed after initial Earthquake. Not much to say here. Let's get into the extremely underleveled Team Rocket quest, my favourite part of Pokemon Crystal. So, level 40. Our level cap is only level 40 for the last gym. Why is this game like this? So before we actually get into the Rocket quest, I had to catch this Pokemon and its Chinchou. I caught it east of Nuzlocke Town just before the Kanto section, and it is a brilliant water electric type Pokemon that will provide much needed cover for attacking other water types or tricky flying types. I also finally went to the Union Cave since it was a Friday as I was playing it, and caught a Lapras in the basement floor. Lapras is another great Pokemon for the team, and I'm definitely going to have to level them all up. This one will be a key component in beating the Dragon types coming up. Battling through a slog of Team Rocket grunts and beating the creepy coughing man before going to fight our rival again. His team is not very good aside from Meganium, but we hard-walled it with Tentacruel using Acid and Supersonic. Another piece of good news from that battle is that we evolved Chinchou into Lantern thanks to that siphoning EXP that we've been giving it. We just have to get to the top of the radio tower and fight the Rocket admin, who isn't that important right now because he's just an admin and unnamed, and Vaporeon one-shot his whole team damageless. That was very anticlimactic. Our last action is going to the Tin Tower to find the legendary Pokemon on the front of the box of the game cartridge that I'm definitely using since it's a water type and I am able to use it. But I'm not a scrub, legendaries are OP and I ain't doing that, so I destroyed it. You've seen? I'm sorry, but I've destroyed your waifu. I've got better things to do, like going to the final gym. And I was kind of worried for the Kingdra in the final gym, so it took me a long ass time to finally get the team to the level cap. I also added Usain the Slowpoke, now a Slowbro, onto the team for some bulk and type coverage, and had a fair few new additions to the moveset, like Aurora Beam on Vaporeon and Slash on for Alligator. I would have loved the Ice Beam TM, but I didn't have enough money to get it from the game corner. With our Ice type coverage, this battle should go quite smoothly. We lead with Quagsire and just land Ice Punches, with each Dragonair being taken out with 2 Ice Punches each. But on the last one I had to swap out since Quagsire was getting pretty low on HP. And then Claire goes into our last Pokemon, Kingdra. I sent in Tentacruel to try and set up barriers and to poison it, but we couldn't because it kept hitting Smokescreen. This eventually led to me having to send in Lantern to confuse it instead. All I could do was hit it with Sparks and keep confusing it, but Claire used a Hyper Potion, but we did get the paralysis in the end. I mean, it means we can't poison it, but it's also a status condition that I'll take. We got it down into the red again, where we just have to land one more hit to knock it out, but Smokescreen was kicking my butt. Hyper Beam lands on Lantern, but it's extremely bulky and lives on the red, just about. I then swapped into Slowbro to get the last hit in, as it was not a bad first on-screen appearance for Slowbro, as it gets the hit in while Kingdra is recharging and wins us the badge. Alright, final badge obtained, and no, not really, I have to go into the Dragon's Den. Okay, at least there's only a few trainers in there that are able to level up on. Let's just try and beat them with Quagsire, and... Oh no. Our first death of the run because of a critical hit from a random Seadra. Well, this death really hurt because Quagsire's been one of the best Pokemon I've had in this run, and the Water Ground type is absolutely fantastic. And it's been with us for so long. A death from a critical hit in a Nuzlocke is always a tough one to take, especially when it's your first death to a key member so late in the game. At least I passed a test and got the badge. Thanks, Claire. You're named after a terrible jewellery store. Thanks to our dual typage, the last bit of the game was no worry at all, especially the last rival battle. I mean, I would have liked Quagsire for the Magneton, but sometimes critical waterfalls happen. We've also added Lapras to the team and got the team just below the level cap at 49 to give us a bit of wiggle room with levelling up. I'm still extremely upset about Quagsire leaving, by the way, but this new look team will avenge Soup Whoop. Do you think I'll beat the Elite Four? Leave a comment and let's find out. First up is Will. His team was not too difficult since we have quite a few Ice types users for his 2 Xatu. I would have used Tentacruel for the Executor, but couldn't due to Tentacruel being a poison type, and this guy being a psychic user. So even though we were fighting a grass type, it was a bit nerve-wracking. He still wasn't that troublesome though, and we beat him pretty easily. Kogel was pretty much a joke. We swept him with Slowbro using Confusion of all things, not even Psychic, just straight up Confusion. That's the levels we're dealing with here, when we don't have Psychic and we're still annihilating his team. Bruno was so close to being the second challenger on Slowbro's unstoppable train of destruction and death, but Machamp was a bit too tough for it to take out considering the previous damage that it had taken, so I had to swap into Tentacruel to pick up the pieces and Sludge Bombed and surf Bruno away. Finally, it was Karen, and she was meeting me, the manager of water types, in the flesh. She has some very decent type variety, but sadly for her, so do I. Umbreon is kinda bulky, so I had to poison it and then set up barrier just in case. The rest of her team was a lot like the rest of the Elite Four and just kept falling and falling and falling. Even that Houndoom didn't stand a chance. I also liked how our Gengar made itself faint, very considerate in letting me get to the champion faster. We have a great start against the champion as we have Lantern using an electric move on the Gyarados. Obviously that's a one-hit KO, and then he sends in one of his many Dragonites, who I paralysed and confused since Spark wasn't doing too much damage. It lands a Hyper Beam, but our Lapras hits an Ice Beam on his recharge turn. He has another Dragonite which gets Ice Beamed as well, and then he uses an Aerodactyl. It has the super effective Rock Slide which lands twice either side of a paralysis, but Lapras survives on 4 HP and pulls through with a Surf to one-shot the prehistoric bird. Obviously I swapped out Lapras because I'm not a complete moron and just letting it die, and go into Vaporeon versus his last Dragonite. Vaporeon tanks an Outrage and just misses the KO with Aurora Beam. Lance heals up, but it's in vain as we take out his last Dragonite, and then he leads into his last Pokemon, which is Charizard, and despite it landing a critical hit slash, Vaporeon is just way too bulky and one-shots with a Surf, entering my team into the Hall of Fame and making us the Pokemon League champion. But this is Gen 2, so you know it's not over yet. So let's just quickly skim over the Kanto section of the game and get into the really juicy battles. Welcome to Kanto, and I'm using a singular level cap for this section just to get through it a lot faster, the cap being the Ace of Blue's team. I didn't even catch anything new because my team is already too good, and even my potential backups in the box are a strong selection if things go south. Things however did not go south, as we beat the gym leaders of Kanto with ease, aside from Sabrina, who I battled first, and was actually on par with my team at this stage. I almost lost a member or two in this battle, but luckily I didn't. Obviously the likes of Blaine and Brock are weak to us, so we just one-shot their entire teams, nothing wrong there. And Misty had a Quagsire, which made me remember my beloved Swoop. But apart from that, the other gyms were not too much trouble, and let's jump into the blue battle in the famous Lego gym. He leads with a Pidgeot who is two-shot with an Ice Punch leading to Executor really quickly. I know it only has Solar Beam, so I test an Ice Punch to see how much it does, and swap into Tentacruel if need be. But it was not to be, as it was also a two-shot. Alakazam's Psychic did hit us hard, and Bite was only going to be a 3-shot attack, so I had to swap into Slowbro for the resist. And since Slowbro has pretty decent attack, I can headbutt the Alakazam after it uses 2 Psychics for some good damage. But even during that, we get stalled with Recover, so I said forget this and hit a Critical Surf to knock it out. He then goes for Gyarados, so obviously in comes Lantern. But Gyarados lives on a Sliver and Hyper Beams, but Lantern is so tanky that we can knock it out on our free turn. Rhydon of course came out next and went bye-bye with a crit Waterfall, and finally was Arcanine. We both did decent damage with our attacks, ours more so than his, but I still had to swap out since I can't risk Lantern so late in the game, swapping into Vaporeon and hitting a Surf for the final Kanto Gym badge. Now, we all know what time it is, one last battle in the game. Can I defeat Red, or will I fall at the final hurdle? Red's level cap is usually level 81, but since that Pokemon is just a Pikachu, I made the level cap 77, the level of his next highest Pokemon. Let's jump into the battle as Red leads with Pikachu, and since I don't have Quagsire to wall it, I use Lantern instead. We just missed the KO with Waterfall, as Pikachu misses Thunder, but Red wastes all his Hyper Potions on his famous Rodent, and we do eventually knock it out, but do get paralysed in the process. Espeon comes up next, and this one is a scary one for me. A critical Psychic lands Lantern in the red, but we do manage to paralyse it, which is huge. I send in Slowbro to resist its Psychic attacks, and try to set up some Amnesia boosts. I obviously got a bit too greedy and was put in my place by a critical hit psychic. Since the Slowbro plan was so flawless in every way, I actually had to swap out into for Alligator just to make this battle a bit fairer on red, obviously. Bite does good damage as we flinch Espeon in the process, which is a bit of a turning point as his team's barrier does go down at that stage, with us beating Espeon with another Bite. Of course his next Pokemon is Venusaur, but much like Blue's Executor, it only has Solar Beam that is super effective against us. So that means I can get in a bit of damage with Ice Punch before swapping into Tentacruel and hitting it with Sludge Bombs after setting up my own barrier. Tentacruel is on pretty low health after this, but I have to poison the oncoming Snorlax. Instead getting a critical hit, and despite raising its special defense, another Sludge Bomb does the trick, causing massive damage to Snorlax and taking it down. Well, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting Snorlax to be the bulkiest thing in the world and to actually take us out. Blastoise is next however, and I hit 2 Sludge Bombs, one being a critical hit since I know Blastoise can't really hurt us. And with that knockout, his last Pokemon is a Fire type versus 6 Water types. I swap into Vaporeon just because I don't want to tarnish this victory with the death of my jellyfish, getting hit by a weak Flamethrower and Fire Spin. But despite the burn, Vaporeon lands another critical hit in this critical hit heavy battle, taking out Charizard and winning us the battle. And finally, I have beaten the challenge. I have beaten Pokemon Crystal as a hardcore Nuzlocke with only water type Pokemon. That was a really fun challenge and I love the variety of subtypes that we had on our team. I'm also sorry that it's been a while since my last proper video. Emulator issues and the like did kill my motivation to complete this challenge, but I'm proud to say that I've finally done it. The likes of Tentacruel, Lantern and the late Quagsire were all really solid addition to the team with their subtypings. And if only Quagsire didn't fade, I probably would have done this challenge deathless. That would have been fantastic as I do have a pretty bad run with Nuzlocks. I'm not very good at them. Shall I try another hardcore Nuzlocke in this game? Or is there another suggestion that you'd like to see? Leave it in the comments below. And if you did like this challenge, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Super123 and I will see you all next time.